What's the most real relationship advice you can give? It's fine to not always want to spend 100% of your time with your spouse. Not every moment of every day is going to be bliss, and sometimes it really takes some effort. I love my wife to bits, but there are some days when I would just like to do things by myself. It doesn't mean our relationship isn't great, but it can be really refreshing to just take a stroll around a shopping center or go and get some food alone or something. This 100%. My spouse goes weekly to a Pathfinder game. That's his alone time. I occasionally go to a punk show or have a beer with my friends. It can be even simpler. I will go read a book in the other room and get my alone time. He likes to cook, so heck start up in the kitchen and I stay away while he listens to his music. Everyone needs alone time. Go on holiday together. If you can agree on food, sleep soundly, compromise on activities and do your own thing one of the days and not get mad at each other, you stand a good chance of lasting a while. I love my boyfriend to bits and miss him a lot. We don't live together yet, but boy do I like sleeping on my own in bed sometimes. Space is healthy. Just because you're in a relationship doesn't mean you have to live in each other's pockets. Agreed. I love my boyfriend, but I also love sleeping in my own bed sometimes. 1. Don't expect the other person to be able to read your mind. 2. Be a team, not opponents. 3. Everybody farts at some point. Communication is the foundation upon which everything else is built. They say don't go to bed angry, not because anger does something while you're sleeping, but because it means you didn't communicate properly and you're giving up on trying. Be calm, actively listen. Do not dismiss your partner's statements. Assume good faith. It's you and me versus the problem, not me versus you. If something's bugging you, talk to your so about it. If you feel enraged about something, wait until you're well fed, well rested, with warm extremities before talking about it. But talk about it at the first opportunity, calmly, rationally, and honestly. Keep the discussion limited to that one narrow thing. If something's bugging your so, hear them out. Never think, well, I'm not bothered by that, so it's not a problem. Think my so is bothered by this, and that's a problem. If you think the concern is unreasonable, frame the discussion as solving the problem of your so as being unhappy. The worst fights and arguments happen over trivial things, because it's not the trivial thing that's actually causing the problem. It's probably a series of things, or a general lack of satisfaction, and the toothpaste cap being left off is just the instigator of the fight. If you communicate often and openly, these things will not fester, they won't pile up, and you won't get into such fights. You have to be honest with them, especially when it's hard to do. Me and my boyfriend get uncomfortably real with each other sometimes, and something we have both learned is to listen to criticism without getting defensive. And when giving criticism, we don't attack each other, no matter how angry or sad we are at each other. I've had him call me out for certain behaviors that nobody has ever called me out on, and I've done the same for him. We're both better people for it, because when we get it all out on the table, we have no choice but to work on ourselves. Your spouse isn't going to be perfect. You're not going to be perfect. There will be mistakes and misunderstandings. What really matters in a relationship is not being perfect, but how you handle the imperfections of yourself and your spouse in a respectful, reasonable way. This is the best comment here, and the ones about communication. Learning how to be bored together is important. You don't have to be on the go, doing stuff and planning stuff and being fun and exciting all the time. It's okay to just sit around and not do anything and not talk to each other. It's not unhealthy, I promise. There's a reason it's called the honeymoon phase, and eventually you won't have as much to talk about other than how the day went, or might not always feel those butterflies in your stomach when you think about them. That's when it becomes a test in the relationship, and you both have to work on it to make it work. You will get into fights, but learn to get over them, or I doubt it'll last. Resentment can kill feelings for someone. You trade butterflies for familiarity, excitement for comfort. Sometimes you have to spend years with crappy people to realize what you deserve. It was never a waste. You needed the experience to figure out what works best for you or what to avoid. You'll never forget your exes. They were there for a reason. Conversely, sometimes you need to spend years in bad relationships with good people before you realize that you're being a crappy person. Sometimes it's hard to see and harder to admit. Guy here. This probably sounds simple, but here's what I've learned. Know yourself, where you're at in life. If you're in a shitstorm, legal crap, money crap, drugs and alcohol crap, legal crap, you're probably not ready for anything serious. Clean up your act first. Be honest. No matter how fricked up crap is, if you want to move forward in a serious way, all the cards got to be on the table. Take it slow, get to know each other, but in the end no secrets. There is some crap that is nobody's business, but I ain't talking about that. Know her, what she's been through, and what she wants out of life. You both need to be pretty much on board. You need to be heading for the same thing. Kids, buy a house or gypsy life, don't matter. Keep a sharp eye on things. You need to make sure she's doing okay and let her know you're doing okay. Same with her to you. After that it's just dodging stupid. Lots of wisdom here. No secrets and be on board with each other's plan is big. Relationships are work. They aren't always fun. You won't always be madly in love, and you can't put them on a shelf and ignore them. But they shouldn't be all work. Always be mindful and thoughtful to that person's love map. Like they might need a quick text every morning when you get to work letting them know you're safe. Makes zero sense to you, but knowing it's something small and means the world to them, well, why the heck not? They might get stressed out, and you helping to clean the house for when they've finished work might mean more to them than someone else you've been with who wanted flowers to show love. Know what it is that your partner loves and makes them feel loved too. A little off topic, but I've found that prioritizing the relationship correctly helps a lot. My roommate is my best friend, but he's a roommate first, a co-worker second, and a friend third. We talk about finances and housework completely differently than we shoot the crap. This helps maintain efficient lines of communication regardless of what's going on. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. If they're mean, if they're vindictive, if they use you, if they show you that they don't really care about you, believe them. If they make you feel inadequate, on edge, scared, nervous, unworthy, or like a disappointment, believe them. If they're entitled, narcissistic, sociopathic, manipulative, or unfair, believe them. Life isn't a movie. You can't fix people who don't want to be fixed. More often than not, they just are who they are. So take off the rose-colored glasses and stop thinking love will find a way. If it isn't working, change it. Don't spend your precious time lamenting over a person who wouldn't genuinely lament over you. This sounds bleak, I know, but relationships and love are supposed to be the most beautiful thing in the universe. If your relationship is not improving your quality of life on the aggregate, you need to seriously reassess what you want in life, because you deserve better. You only get so much time to find people in your life that make it worth living. Don't get caught up on people who will make you wish you never lived it. Yes, you gotta make sure you're choosing them as advertised, not falling in love with their potential. I don't think your perspective is bleak at all. I think it's balanced and disillusioned. In related vernacular, choosing to believe who someone is a great example of living life on life's terms. It's not always easy, but it gets you out of a lot of unnecessary wrestling matches. Probably not gonna get this right, but it hit me the hardest after spending 5 years in a toxic relationship. The idea that everyone in their lives is working towards creating a jigsaw. Each part of their life, be it work, relationships or hobbies, make up parts of the jigsaw. Everyone's is different. Some people's careers make up the edges, the less important and interesting parts. Some people's are their relationships. What's important is the center of the puzzle. That's what people are working towards. Their life's goals. When you're in a relationship, your puzzles combine. You eventually start working towards a shared goal. You might make some compromises on what goes to the outer edges, but you should both be working towards the same center. Occasionally, it turns out that the centerpiece you were working towards with your sew isn't what you thought it was. This sucks. And believe me, it really freaking does. But there's nothing wrong with cutting your losers. If you're going for a different jigsaw, and the pieces don't fit, you won't get a coherent picture. I hope I explained it right. And yes, it has been taken from Daniel Sloss. He puts it way better than I do, so I would recommend checking him out on Netflix. Daniel Sloss is the crap, and I think you worded it very well. If you go into a marriage long-term commitment with the impression that you'll be happy all the time and your life will only change for the better, you are absolutely wrong. Be realistic that there will be days you won't be able to stand each other, your lives may absolutely hit rough patches and you will not agree on how or why that situation occurred or even how to get out of it, and the like. A study of long-term relationships found that successful relationships have one major thing in common. The spouses are verbally supportive of each other's interests and thoughts. For example, if your spouse is very excited about Pokemon Go and wants to tell you all about the monsters they caught that day, the supportive spouse would listen to them talk about it and be excited for what they are excited about even if they don't know how the game's played or think that it's stupid. The couple that's going to divorce, that other spouse would say I don't care, that game is for kids, or be generally dismissive of the conversation and change topics. Support what they are excited about as much as you can, even if it's just listening with a smile on your face while you do a shopping list in your head. I completely agree with you. My fiance loves Magic D&D and I really don't have any interest in either, but I love listening to him talk about it because he's so passionate about it. It makes him happy to talk to me about it, and it makes me happy to see him talk about something he actually enjoys. If you feel like you're having a hard time getting a girlfriend or boyfriend, then you're doing it wrong. It's not something to get, it's a vibe you have with someone and it's not promised. Thank you. My roommates constantly complain that they wish they had a relationship like mine and my boyfriends, or feel like the world owes them for never giving them a boyfriend. Healthy boundaries. It's important to be supportive when your partner is going through a hard time. However, it's not healthy to take on your partner's burdens as your own. Analyzing the unhealthy patterns in your early relationships can be helpful for figuring out difficulties you may have in this area. If you're starting to doubt a relationship, do not drag it out. End it so you don't waste precious time finding someone who is a better fit. This is gonna go against what a lot are saying, but yeah, being bored together and okay with that is important, but also keep it fun. Try and break the routine with surprises and treats and events, the little things that break the relationship routine. Keep it alive and fun, never settle for a set routine. You are never obliged to stay in a relationship. Doesn't frickin' matter what someone has threatened. If you aren't happy, frick 'em. If you aren't happy, frick 'em. And if that doesn't help, leave 'em. Don't go to sleep angry as bulls, especially if you have little kids. If you and your partner are sniping at one another, disengage and get some sleep if it's possible. Most of the fights my husband and I ever had was because one or both of us were exhausted and or hangry. But set a time to pick it back up. If my husband just says frick it and goes to bed during an argument, I'm P. But if he says I need sleep, let's talk tomorrow after dinner, I'm much better. I need to know it's going to be resolved in a timely fashion, and we're both much more reasonable after sleep and cooling down. During an argument, never say something you'll regret later. Arguments are temporary, but people don't forget hurtful, personal comments. Also, the one that loves the least always controls the relationship, based on observing family and friends relationships. In all honesty, I don't even buy the whole "I said it out of anger, I didn't mean it" line. Anger makes people care less about holding their tongue, thus more likely to be brutally, even cruelly, honest. People mean the crap they say in anger. Choose them. It's not about winning an argument, making a point, having enough time, or giving enough gifts, any of that crap that makes your heart either soar or tremble in the moment. It's about choosing them, knowing them, learning them. Equally as crucial, they choose you back. It's about choosing this person to hold your hand through every moment of every day, for the remainder of anything and everything you will ever experience. Every decision you make has them as a factor. It's about respect and admiration, and giving credit where it is due. It's about the truth, about trusting them with the truth, and trusting them to tell it. Choose them, completely. Character is action. Deep character is how a person behaves under stress. An instructor told me this in a writing seminar, but it's a great real-life observation about relationships. If you have someone who keeps focused and cool under pressure, value that individual. It's a magnificent character trait. If you're together with someone who rages at minor inconveniences and finds scapegoats instead of solutions, that's a person of weak character. Most of us are somewhere in between those two extremes. We can get better at it with effort. Yeah, just because you work on building your character doesn't necessarily mean your soul will make the same journey. A partner with especially bad character will take that effort for granted. It will never be enough. You could walk on eggshells all week, but then someone cuts them off at an intersection and you have to endure their curses. But I'm not yelling at you, they think is a good enough excuse. They're still being terrible company. Most people with weak character know how to keep focused and cool under pressure. They choose the situations where they can get away with venting. They'll work on improvement for a little while, but they'll always relapse and usually get worse. And they would rather get the upper hand than solve problems. It's easy to take a person with good character for granted because what they do seems effortless. Part of what they achieve is emotional maturity, but part of it takes real effort. All relationships take effort. Some are worth the effort and some are not. Figure out whether there's enough strength of character on both sides to be worth the effort you put in. Love is a choice, not a feeling. Not talking about sexuality here. The butterflies go away eventually. It's inevitable, but you can choose to be committed anyway and build something beautiful together. Conversely, attraction is a feeling, not a choice. You cannot negotiate someone into being into you if they aren't. Sometimes you can give everything you have and be your absolute best self and still have it not be enough for someone. If that happens, it's on them, not you. Another way of phrasing this, it's not anyone's fault. Some people aren't compatible. If you can't be what the other person needs, whether you think that need is legit or not, then that relationship will not work out. That's just incompatibility. It happens. It's neither person's fault. A BoJack Horseman quote. It's funny, when you see someone through rose-colored glasses, the red flags just look like flags. Accept when you're wrong. Accept that your partner won't always accept they're in the wrong. Accept apologies. Accept compliments. Be accepting. Don't ever eat her leftover food she's saving. It's not okay. It's not ever okay. I ate my girlfriend's 3 remaining hot wings long ago and she still brings it up years later. You fricked up. 1. If he wanted to, he would. 2. Never marry, move in with, have a kid with, or make serious financial commitments to anyone until the honeymoon period is over. Relationships are not there to fix you. If you aren't happy with yourself, the relationship won't make that a reality. When you want your partner to be fit, attractive, and dress well, don't forget that they want that as well. Want the best for the other person, not for yourself. That's why jealousy is poison. You want your SF to look good, but only for you. Get a clue. Give them something to want in return. Be a success. Take care of yourself. Learn something every day. Don't waste your time. Be kind and demonstrate that daily. You get what you give. Do the dishes. Some relationships aren't meant to be permanent. Some friends, family, and lovers are only supposed to be in your life for a short time. They will impact your life, for better or worse, but don't feel obligated to keep them around forever. This too shall pass. Nothing is planned. You're just an animal navigating an environment of other animals. Nothing is going to be consistent. People say to not date your best friend. Don't listen to that. If you become best friends first, trust me, they are worth it. Enter a relationship without planning on it ending. Being best friends helps the communication, love, trust, and truth be real. Been with my husband for 13 years. We were best friends for a couple years before that. I wouldn't change a thing. A great relationship isn't a 50/50 split. You need to be able to put forth more than 50% sometimes to help when your partner isn't all the way there and vice versa. Don't argue if you're hungry or tired. Don't argue if you're angry about something else that they have nothing to do with. Don't argue if you're distracted by something else. Don't argue over texts, PMs, etc. Don't argue about things neither of you can control. Take a nap. Get some food, let other things pass. If it's still a problem, then argue. But most importantly, own your mistakes. You fricked up, admit to it and move forward. Things that test your relationship will test them for longer than a day. I love my GF. Love the crap out of her. After roughly 2 years of dating, we moved in together in July of last year. We knew there would be an adjustment period, but we didn't expect it to take longer than 3 months. We couldn't go more than 4 or 5 days without an argument. Sometimes we were arguing before we even left for work in the morning. We thought we had planned so well. Thought the I's were dotted and T's were crossed. They weren't. It took 3 months to work out the kinks. But we're better now than we ever were before. I wouldn't change anything that has happened. Big changes to your life will take time to settle. Be prepared to feel like your relationship has regressed before it moves forward. Don't be with bad or mean people, or at least not bad in any way that bothers you. Also, don't be a bad or mean person. Successful relationships are really just two decent, good people who like each other a lot. Because they're decent and good, they are going to be nice to each other. Because they're good, they actually want others to be nice to them. So it all works out. Honeymoon phase is a real thing. Wait until it passes before making any life-altering decisions. I know you feel like you've known each other forever and like soulmates. Wait until you get on each other's nerves a couple of times legitimately. Not just little things but real things that actually bug you. Now see how you handle it together as a couple and as yourself. Life isn't a race. To paraphrase Red Foreman, relationships are hard. You gotta learn to filter out the bulls. Learn what you're willing to put up with and let it roll off your back. But also establish what you're not going to put up with and shut it down immediately the second it appears. If you break up because of that, so be it. Watch how a potential mate treats others, waiters, people in the drive-thru when getting fast food, other people in line at the grocery store, their family members, etc. Pay particular attention to how they treat people over whom they have a social advantage, subordinates, employees, the ugly or awkward friend, and so on. Do they talk behind their backs? Do they mock them? Do they give a look of disgust when they turn away? That's how they're going to eventually treat you. A boy I like were walking together, and he stopped mid-conversation to help a slug cross the sidewalk safely. It seriously made me want to marry him. You may be super compatible in every way, and they may make you feel like you've never felt before. That still doesn't mean it would work out. They might not love you the same way. Everyone has their own demons, and sometimes they spill out and sour the relationship even when no one wants it to happen. You can only let go and stop clinging to your memory of that person. This is the thing I am struggling with most after my recent breakup. It's a hard thing to accept, but I know it is one I don't have a choice on. Time will heal my wound and I will meet someone who is willing to work with me rather than shut me out. Thanks for saying this. Even if it is just to vent, don't say anything in a negative light about your partner to a friend, family member, unless it is a bad relationship. The good moments outweigh the bad, but you probably don't tell friends, family members all the good stuff. If you are frustrated enough to vent to someone outside your relationship, think about it, and is it worth making the person you love look like the less than amazing person they are? And if you still feel strong enough to vent about whatever happened, maybe that need to be a conversation you have with your partner, not about them. I don't feel like typing a lot, so be honest. Truly, no bulls honest. Listen. Don't listen just because you should. Listen because you care. Step 1A. Care. Communicate yourself honestly to them. Don't hold back. Tell them who you are. Rinse and repeat. Honesty with yourself and your partner is so important to having a healthy, lasting relationship. It's so much better than living a lie or trying to entertain falsehoods. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.